Hey, everybody, this is the Honorable Oakland Councilmember Treva Reid. And how are you doing?
I'm doing well, Zenny. We're back together on the other side. Yeah. Yes. It was quite a journey with that election. And thank you for your support in many ways outside of giving me an opportunity to speak to your viewers and to share broadly just through your network and just the personal support that you extended to our campaign and contributing and investing in me. And so here we are, and I'm grateful and honored to have this role at such a critical and even more demanding and challenging time. And so, yes, welcome. Happy, blessed New Year.
Happy New Year to you, too. Hey, let's get right into that. Respect for your time. I don't want to come off like the attorney in the Queen Mutiny or anything like that, or the Kane Mutiny, but what do you think of Lerone Armstrong, the new chief of police?
Oh my goodness, we have a new police chief. I am so grateful and excited that this moment has finally come. I know, like you, many of us have been waiting for him to come into this place of leadership. He has served as deputy chief. He has served us well. He will be sworn in officially on Monday, but he was born, raised, he's remained strongly rooted in our community. I've had an opportunity to work with designate Chief Armstrong over the years in community through church. He was the former president of the Oakland Black Officers Association. And so even as we look at equity and the increased need for inclusion and representation of leadership in Oakland, he has been at the forefront of that. I hear that he's also just, he's been one of the original officers that's been assigned to the work of ceasefire. And just that strategy of implementation in our community, the OPD Cares launch through ceasefire is something that he's been lifting up, and those strategies help us to reduce the crime. Right now, in this community, over 60% of those who are dying are Black men. This is our Black men are dying, our Black and brown men are dying. So to have someone who's experienced the personal loss in his own family of the tragedy and trauma of losing a loved one, having been deeply rooted and connected to the issues and having worked to lift up strategies and solutions, I'm excited to collaborate with him and his leadership team to overcome just a significant rise in violent crime that has threatened our public and our life safety, and especially in East Oakland and District 7, where I represent.
And on that note, what issues are you most burning on? Because there's what you're concerned with, which is separate from what people see and what little media there is. What is your top concern?
Well, I'd say that there are, some weighty challenges before us. And I've kind of grouped them into just three areas as I look at them and certainly work to expand in our efforts to addressing them. And the first one is just that it's budget decision time, right? Just as the nation, and we've seen today, a 1.9 trillion COVID relief package that has been approved by our Vice President Harris, our local Oakland hometown leader, making that decisive decision and breaking that tie to release more of that economic recovery for us. But here as a city, we are faced with our own financial challenges. And so that first issue that I'll just speak to is just having sufficient revenue to fund and preserve our core and essential services and our programs to our residents and our businesses, and ensuring that we have wages for our workforce to be supported to deliver those services. Having to face the reality of the economic and the racial inequities that are before us. Yes, they are even real here in Oakland, and just the lack of equitable opportunity that has not advanced for our community members, especially those who are Black, when we look at the number of disparities that particularly face those community members. And I will also add to that our Latinx, our members. And third, just community vitality. You've lived here, we're working to all recover through COVID. You still do, yes. We're looking to recover through COVID. We just were approved by the Biden-Harris administration to be one of 2 national pilots for a mass COVID vaccination site here in my district, our District 7 in East Oakland at the Coliseum. So making sure that we recover through COVID, that we're safe, that we're alive, that we've got testing, we've got contract tracing, we are following and abiding by those protocols, and that we have equitable access and priority of vaccination to our community members, especially those in this district who have some of the higher zip codes of individuals who have had COVID positivity rates, hospitalization, and deaths. And we know that Blacks are dying at the greatest rate disproportionately within the community, and that our Latinx community members are being diagnosed at significantly higher rates than others. And so making sure that we recover through COVID, making sure that our businesses prosper. When we talk about community vitality, making sure our businesses prosper, that our small businesses can be sustained. We've lost almost 140 businesses based on the last data just in this district, just in this geographic area of Oakland, making sure that we stay safe, healthy, that we are thriving as a family, that we are able to somehow shore up some family sustaining income jobs to keep people working and providing for their families and able to stay housed. So affordable housing continues to be an issue that we lift up here, keeping people housed and helping to ensure those who are unhoused can transition into safe, temporary and permanent housing. And so it's taken all of us to work together at our federal level, at our state, at our county and our city levels. And so I'm working to collaborate with those leaders, with certainly my council colleagues and the others, to see how do we empower our community to get through this very difficult time, and how can Oakland be sustained and strengthened in the midst of it. So we've got to get through this together.
You're also actually, as your father did, on the Coliseum, the Oakland Alameda County Coliseum Joint Powers Authority Board of Directors. Congratulations. How is that going?
Thank you.
And what would you like to see done from your perch as one of the operators or managers or directors of the Coliseum?
Well, it's the opportunities that we've had now. And yes, it's exciting. And I serve on the joint power authority between the city and the county, along with Vice Mayor Rebecca Kaplan. And so the two of us serve as the city representatives with our county board of supervisor colleagues. And it's just been an amazing time to come together. We've had one formal meeting, but we've met multiple times around just a COVID task force that we've lifted up. And so how do we find ways to create the highest and best use of the Coliseum right now? And so allowing that site to be used as a place, that our community can gather to get this much needed vaccine to keep us alive is important. And so just how do we prioritize the use of that space? The decisions around that land are even more critical as we think about revitalizing East Oakland and how that particular land use can really be an economic engine of vitality for the city and also for this community who has not seen the equitable investment and opportunities and just revitalized business corridors that we are beginning to envision. And as you know, and I'm sure it may come up, but there are decisions that will come before the city primarily around the use of that property, not so much directly in the JPA role, but more in the council role with the decisions that we'll make as we look to lease, which is certainly preferred as we are hearing from the community, ensuring that public land is used for public good, and or sale, as we've seen a number of those proposals come together unsolicited to the city leaders. So yeah, we've got some big decisions to make around that land, and it will be made certainly in partnership with the community and making sure that the community's voice is lifted up. They've certainly had a large outcry of public land being used for public good, and that is being lifted up even within council colleagues as well.
What do you think of Ray Bobbitt and Shonda Scott and the group of comprising the African American Sports and Entertainment Group, of which I have assisted to this even to today when they allow me the honor of putting out their newest video. But yeah, it's very nice. What do you think of their proposal? And yeah, I'm involved in it. And so I ask I just, what is it, in the interest of transparency, as they say. But what do you think of their proposal?
Well, I'll have to say this. We've received a number of unsolicited proposals. And so as a city leader, we will have to look at all the proposals and see who has the most viable plan that they are looking to put forth to ensure that, as we said, that economic engine allows us to thrive and be of benefit to this community. That certainly as a business group, that we want it to allow that business to show forth and to prosper. And as a community, we need to make sure that we are at the table and that there are incredible community and jobs benefits agreements for us to be sustained from one generation to the next. And so it is always exciting, particularly in light of just the systemic and structural racism that certainly is more heightened in this time that we're talking about, to see a Black-owned group able to come forth and present, a plan that has gained great excitement and enthusiasm from the community. So the African American Sports and Entertainment Group, they are certainly rooted with a lot of local partners. You mentioned Shonda Scott, Lanice Jones, John Jones. I mean, there are many people I know that are a part of that particular group. And so it's exciting to see that as Ray Bobbitt has put together a team of strong community leaders, and even those who still have ties to this community, like Robert Bobb, who is certainly just a pillar of support and strength in his role as our city manager during those years of leadership, that they've got a great team and they know how to engage with community. And I know this week they held a town hall meeting that had, I believe, over 300 people plugged in to hear their vision, to meet their leadership team, and to hear more about their idea and their vision of the sports and entertainment, museum, the local job hiring, which is critical, the housing components, the retail, hotels, the community ownership opportunities. And so all of those things are exciting to hear. And so we will be weighing those decisions. And certainly, as you can imagine, any real estate deal is not discussed publicly at this point. But as we progress, we will have opportunity to have those more broadened community conversations around it and getting more community input. But right now, the A's own 50% of the land. And so whoever comes into ownership at that 100+ acres will have to have a relationship with the A's. They are already a part of that parcel, and there are no defined lines of ownership on that parcel. And so they will have a lot of input. And so as we certainly are weighing as a city, the A's, they are the other owner of that land. And so those proposals will have to, at some point, also have conversation with the A's. And so that's going to be exciting to see how it unfolds. And also the A's, they have a lease term there until 2024. So the A's right now, they currently have a relationship with us where they're able to stay at that site until 2024. And the arrangement that they have with the county on that purchase that's already began to progress and that they've got some binding terms on, that really extends to 2026. And so I don't foresee anything immediately taking place at that property. And it's also exciting to see that those like the African American Sports and Entertainment Group are proactively engaging community early on. And so I hope that all of those who are looking to propose, and we've received, like I said, a number of unsolicited proposals, and I've heard that there are more coming. And so they can certainly follow the lead of ASEG and your team with the work that you've been leading out, having just local relationships.
I can say that because when your father got me the job of economic advisor to Oakland Mayor Lee Ross, and one of the things that I did was very similar. We had John Cariotis, who is a real estate guy, and then I cold called Lon Rosen to get a hold of Magic Johnson because Cariotis said he had Frank Robinson, and I tried to assemble a team. And what bothers me, council member, and I just have to share this, is that the mayor does not have a task force to lead this, okay? And I'm going out of school to do this. I don't normally, but I think this is highly important. I don't want people to have the impression that I'm for one team. I am for the city getting its act together and getting something done rather than, Larry Gallegos not having a structure to evaluate these proposals, which he does not have. and allowing everybody from fish to farm people come in and submit something. So my point is there going to be a come to Jesus meeting about how we're really handling this? Because it's gone off the rails and it's absolutely crazy, as opposed to the city taking leadership and assembling teams for what it wants, right?
Mm.
And we have a big concern about that. And this goes beyond, and it's tragic. It's what caused us to lose the Raiders. It caused us to lose the Warriors from the standpoint of criticism. I know there's blame on their side, but there's also blame on our side too. And I think that you're in a great position to really help straighten all this out. So that's why I asked.
Well, you know what? I've had some initial briefings with our department leaders, and I have to say that there's a lot of work that has taken place behind the scenes that is not public. And so I appreciate all that staff has been leading out on. And I also understand even more now from the seat that I'm able to serve in and having some access to information, that there's a lot of information that has come out publicly that has also not been accurate. And so I agree that there needs to be clarity around the process, and we are working to ensure that what can be shared publicly with the community is shared. That's something that I appreciate, so that what we are saying, even as a city, from our department leaders to our council members and to the community, is consistent and clear and accurate and as transparent as we can be. And staff has given great insight and perspective of the work that they have been leading. And as you shared, as we're thinking about how we come into a more organized structure with projects like this, how do we partner? Are there task force needed on something like this that has such economic impact to our community, and a great need to ensure that it's a community-driven process, which I absolutely support. But whatever is decided on, it has to take into consideration those things that we've been hearing, right? Convening meaningful, proactive community engagement. And we started some of that when the A's were leading some community discussions. And as a city, we will need to lead and convene those meaningful, proactive community engagement. It has to be a transparent and open RFP process. There has to be transparency in just public assessment of different things that are taking place. It has to be a community-focused development plan. There has to be, we know, deeply affordable housing and just community workspace that we'd like to see, a place that small businesses can get plugged into to thrive. There has to be some economic reinvestment also back into our community. And as I shared, there has to be a community and jobs benefit agreement. And I hope it has workforce training stipend programs as they're looking to ramp up and build this site out. And labor has to be a part of this project. Our business community needs to know that their voice is being considered at the table for any land use changes, zoning changes, as you're even more aware of that from the work that you are leading. There's going to be strong, environmental and CEQA reviews. And as I shared, that this public land is prioritized for the highest and best good for those of us in the city, and especially East Oaklanders around this hub in this corridor. Yep. And so I agree that we can have more of that conversation. And yet the unsolicited proposers may have come ahead of that process, right? Because there's so much interest and excitement. These proposals are all unsolicited.
It's more dangerous, and I have to share something you don't know or may not know. Larry Gallegos told me there's no RFP. Okay, so the public's under the impression there's an RFP, and my point is, yeah, we're flirting with a lawsuit. Okay, as a city, and so my point.
I'm not able to speak to that, but you know what? It's a question that I will ask. I have not heard that yet from our city attorneys. That we are, perhaps about to breach some legal threshold in how we're moving forward. I know from having worked at companies before an RFP process opened, that there were unsolicited proposals of interest. There were letters of interest expressing interest around city projects that were not yet open to the public. And that appears to be what those who have expressed interest with letters of interest saying, hey, you have this parcel of land, and I'm excited about owning a part of it, or leasing a part of it, or developing that in partnership with the city for the benefit of community. That is what we're hearing. Now, what that legal threshold is, I need to check myself. But that's where we are. And And it's breeding more excitement because people are seeing other proposals. And so they're like, well, let me get my proposal in. Well, let me get my team built up. Well, let me get started. And the city has yet to formalize what that process is. And so I believe that as a city, absolutely, we need to do our due diligence in making sure that when we launch these initiatives, that there's clarity, that it's transparent, that we're accountable to whatever the legal parameters are, and just the due diligence in how we represent and show up for our community, for them to know what is underway. And so one of the first things that my team and I have asked of staff is, what can we say on these projects? Like, where are we? What can we begin to communicate? Whether it's the Oakland Coliseum, whether it's Howard Terminal, whether it's the Oakland Army Base, there are these large land decisions that are before us. And if we are not clearly communicating where we are in that process, then a lot of conversations get started or a lot of actions begin to rise that we can easily address by just being proactive and upfront with what we're putting out there.
I'll mention it is also to protect you and others is that Rick Tripp, and I've written about this, Rick Tripp came to me in 2012. He's not real. And he looks like the kind of guy that might be an FBI plant that says, let's see if we can find out who Black is involved. And we could say, like, there's another guy, Tariq Hassan, who used to bug me and say, well, you can get me in to see Libby Schaaf. I said, no, I can't. That's not my role. That's against the law. I'm not going to do that. I'm media, okay? And I said, stop calling me. And so I kept repeating this again and again and again. I said, if you keep doing it, I'm going to make it public, okay? There's a lot of this going on, and they try to entrap Black men, all right? And I'm tired of it. And it happens because the city does not have a formal process. You know what I'm saying? So I'm sorry to take off on this tangent.
Well, we do need to safeguard.
Yeah.
No, you've lived it. You've clearly lived an experience. And I think that we have to safeguard and ensure that any process certainly does not set our Black community members or Black men up to be entrapped in any way. That's a sensitive area for me, I can tell you personally. But absolutely. And so I certainly, and I believe Councilmember Fife, as she is coming in, I think that we are both asking questions and seeking to ensure that there's accountability and transparency with the fiduciary responsibility that we have with managing, these financial matters, these budget matters, and just our role in being a champion for our community and showing up well with our community at the table.
Well said. Hey, by the way, you have this chart that I think is brilliant that I would be remiss in not presenting, our weekly crime report.
Yeah.
You know, we were talking about it backstage, and it really presents that crime is a problem all around, eh?
It is, where
not just in one area.
No, there's been, as you see from that data, it's disheartening to even look at it, but a sharp rise in homicides. I mean, I believe that report may show, and if it's not that, there's another report that shows just the increase in like the rate from 2019. I think at this time we were at 1 homicide, or 2019 maybe 9. 2020 we're at 1, and we're at 15 lives lost this year. That is crippling for us as a community to have that type of trauma in our lives and with our neighbors and our families that, we are serving and trying to lift up in this very even more challenging time of loss with COVID. And so this sharp rise in homicide is not isolated anymore to one particular geographic area, although East Oakland is still experiencing just the highest rate, continuously disproportionate from other areas in the city. But we're seeing it from the flatlands to the hills. And so where there used to be more of a focus on just the flatlands, we're seeing in other areas in the hills, in other areas of business districts like Chinatown, just the rise in the hurt and harm that is increased with people being robbed, people being injured, and certainly the loss of life. And so we have Chief Armstrong coming on board. I'm excited to see the shift that we will collaborate on with strategies and solutions in partnership with community and those community-based organizations to work alongside of him to address the rise in crime and find better solutions to help us get through this year and have strategies that really bring us to just longer and sustained approaches to addressing public safety.
Hey, how can people in your district contact you if they want to help you with initiatives, come out and do cleanup or anything, is there a number they can call?
Yes, come on out. We would love to have you supporting us in District 7. Our office number is 510-238-7007. And our district email is district7@oaklandca.gov. And so we welcome you to check us out. I've got a Facebook page, having some challenges changing the name over, but it's Treva Reid for Oakland City Council. So you can stay abreast of us there. It's Reid for Oakland on our Instagram. And we're coming out with a newsletter. So please email us your contact information for us to get you plugged into our district communications. And the city is launching our website through the city's network so that we can also stay in communication with you and you can have the contact information of my amazing team. I have to give my team a shout out. I am not in this alone. One, I have an amazing district that I'm grateful that they've given me this opportunity to serve them. And I have like the best team. I have Brandon Baranko, who is our chief of staff. I have Haley Hester, who is our district representative, and Rosa Velasquez, who is our district representative. And so we are here to serve and help strengthen and support our community together. So join with us. And we've got an upcoming housing town hall Thursday, February 25th. I also serve on the Public Safety Committee. So as we're talking about public safety, Councilmember Carol Fife is the chair of this committee, but our first meeting is at 1:30 on February 9th. I encourage you, particularly if you are a District 7 resident, lift up your voice, come and share in public comment your thoughts, your ideas, your concerns, your questions, and just your interest in this area for us to be able to have your voice with the decisions that are being made out of that committee.
You probably email one more time. I just want to make sure it comes up as a graphic so that people can see this.
Yes, District 7@oaklandca.gov.
7@oaklandca.gov. It's not that I don't already know that, folks, but I know her email first.
Yeah.
So there you go.
I'm so grateful to have this time, Zinni. It's always wonderful to talk with you.
Hey, stick around in the backstage, folks. You know what, folks? I made a mistake. That's district, not trick. That's my area, our area. So hold on a second before you think that I am not well educated or that the Oakland Public Schools didn't teach me anything, or that I didn't learn anything from Skyline High School, which Lanice Jones is my fellow classmate from class of 80. Not the case at all. I hope Lanice is listening.
Lanice is amazing. She is a wonderful leader in our community.
So here is the correct. Now the system is okay. Now that's the correct one.
You got the correct one up there. And I'd also ask them to plug in to particularly around public safety and how we're working to reimagine public safety. That task force meets regularly. I believe Council President Nikki Bass and Councilmember Lauren Taylor will be bringing just an update on the progression of that task force to our next city council meeting or to a February city council meeting. And so I just encourage people to look at, I'll drop in the chat the page for that particular task force. We're talking about how community can get involved on task force for them to weigh in on the decisions that we are making on how we're looking to reimagine and reinvest into public safety. So let me drop that in the chat and maybe you can pick that up and put it in.
Sure. Yeah, the private chat here. Oh, by the way, wait a minute. I'm getting this private chat. There it is, actually at the public safety. And I'll call that up. Need page. And I will replace one with the other so that it's more likely to come up. Oh, excuse me. And there it is. And then we go back to StreamYard. And then we show it. First of all, go back to the comments and then drop this. There we go. And then replace that with this. There you are.
There we are. Yeah. So please stay plugged into the work that's underway with how we're reimagining public safety. It's so important to have our community input. Policy Link released a survey I should give you that link too. We're dropping links for them. Let me just give you this link because it's important to get feedback from our community and to hear from our community as we're making these really critical decisions around our budget and how we best reduce crime and what strategies we can be leading out with.
And this is at the City of Oakland website, folks. That's oaklandca.gov, and you can type reimagining public safety to get this page. And
I just gave you this survey for anyone who certainly like to weigh in as a resident of Oakland on the public safety initiatives that are going forward.
$5, that's great coffee. Thank you. And wow, Treva's bringing dollars to Zinni 62 Media.
Hey, are they investing? Invest in Zinni. Yeah. Invest in having this platform with this Black man, this Black media group leading out. We appreciate you, Zinni. You give opportunity for Black leaders to share our voice into the community. You've stood with us. Certainly you can challenge us too, and you hold us accountable, and we appreciate that. But it's been a great partnership with you. And so I encourage anyone listening in, invest in Zinni Abram. I've known him for years, and I know many of you have, and we want to make sure that he too, in the midst of COVID, that he is sustained to continue to strengthen the voice of community nationally and internationally.
Thank you. And besides, if I don't take care of you, your dad will kill me. You know that.
Oh, I'm going to tell him you said hello. I'll have to share this link. He is enjoying rest and recovery. And within a month into this role, I don't know how. For 50 years, he has led being a public servant. I just commend him. I honor my father. I thank him for the path that he continued to extend from my great-grandmother that I watched, and then seeing him lead through his time of serving here in the city and just even nationally when he was in DC as I was growing up. So yeah, I will give him your love and your feedback.
Your dad cares. He cares deeply. And I remember.
Yeah, he does. He does.
I want to share something with you since you're talking about your dad that I consider legendary. And this is when Gene Kwan was mayor, and we were talking about the 100 block problem in a press conference. He was sitting in the back of the room, unbeknownst to me at the time, but I happened to have my camera running, and Larry knew it. And he was, oh gosh, he just completely, he completely just went in another, I'm trying to put it kindly, another gear.
I can imagine that gear.
Another gear. And this is right here. I'm trying to make sure this comes up. And it is, yeah, there it is. Here, and I have to grab the link. Right now, your community survey page is appearing. So I'm grabbing a link to that video, and I'm replacing your, let's see, select all, paste there with that. So it should come up in StreamYard. It, wait a minute. Let me try this one more time. That way, we'll use the wrong link. There it is. And so now it transforms, and there it is. And yeah.
Oh my goodness.
You got to see this.
Okay.
In today's world of high-speed connection, text messaging.
That's the other one. Let me go here. That's the one. Okay. Fast forward here.
I have not seen any additional resources put out in my community. In the coordination of city services, well, I drive through my district every week. I've got to call an illegal dumping. So where are all this coordinated effort between all the city departments, even within the 100 block, and even extended beyond the 100 blocks? I've not seen it.
It doesn't exist. It doesn't exist.
No, it really doesn't exist.
Hey, Larry,
I mean, so she's giving y'all this political BS.
I don't know if that's coming up on your side. Let me see something here, because
I'm hearing it.
Okay, it's not. It's there. What's going on is, I think that's one. Let me try something else here, because one of these is should be showing it. Oh, I know what's going on. That's what's going on.
In today's world of high-speed connection, text messaging, and social networking, we often find ourselves searching for information. There are millions of blogs on the internet. News, sports, politics.
Date on it for 1 year. The loitering ordinance was never implemented when Chief Rich Word was here because of her putting this 1-year sunset. And OPD came to me when Rich Word was on and said, we need to have this loitering ordinance to deal with all these youthful offenders who are out on the streets. And she wasn't going to vote for it originally, but then she came up, well, let's try it for 1 year. And the plan never got implemented.
After this May, it looks like there's really no new policies that are going into place.
No, there isn't. There isn't. So she just came because she'd been away in Brazil. So now she comes back because she thought it was going to be a 1-day, 2-day story, come back and it'd be blown over. But then you guys kept asking the most important questions. What about this 100 block plan? Why is the statistics of urban strategy gave is different from the statistics that you've given? And so now she's coming back and say, yeah, I accept full responsibility for the inaccuracy. Well, you've been out for 5 months preaching about how good this 100 block plan is going to be in addressing the violent crime. The chief says he cannot sustain it. I have not seen any additional resources put out in my community. And the coordination of city services, well, I drive through my district every week. I've got to call up illegal dumping. So where are all this coordinated effort between all the city departments, even within the 100 block, and even extended beyond the 100 blocks? I've not seen it.
It doesn't exist. It doesn't exist.
No, it really doesn't exist.
Hey, Larry, was this
I mean, so she's giving y'all this political BS, and just go look where she did not. When Parada won the popular vote, but because of this new system that we're in, go look at the statistics and see that she did not win one precinct in my district, didn't win one precinct in Councilmember Brooks' district, did not win one precinct in Nancy Nadal's district.
And folks, that's 16 minutes out of respect for your time, but I just present that because your dad cares. Okay?
He does care. And he cares on the most critical issues that are facing our district. And I honor my father.
Okay. He was 16 minutes.
He's a fighter.
Yeah. So that's what
he's a fighter. And you know what? We're still fighting in some areas, and we've got some great collaboration going forward. Like I said, that Reimagine Public Safety's goal to achieve 50% in how we reinvest Oakland Police Department's budget that, represents a significant portion of our budget is going to be critical. And so there have to be alternative public safety measures to help us protect lives and ensure that we are investing in the right areas and equitably into those districts like mine in East Oakland that have experienced the greatest threat of this rise in crime. And so I'm looking forward to working with our leaders and our council colleagues to make really effective, wise, sound, just, reasonable, and equitable decisions back into the city and into this district.
And Councilmember, have you in the backstage. You probably want to tell me your new one. But this has been fantastic.
Thank you so much for this time, Zinni. It's been an incredible first month, and there's a lot of information to gather. There are a lot of leaders, community leaders, city leaders that we are still looking to meet with to understand more how we really worked well together, stronger together to effectively take on the challenges during a very difficult and unprecedented time in our lives. And I am grateful that I have an opportunity to serve in this seat. And so I look forward to coming back with you and sharing more with you and hearing from your viewers if there are particular questions that are coming up that I can work to address. So thank you for this time.
You guys don't go anywhere. Folks, we'll be back later tonight. John Jones.
Wonderful.
6 o'clock.
I got to plug in. Oh, John is going to be good. Y'all turn in to John. Don't miss John Jones III.
Stick around, Councilmember. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good day, everyone.